Hey everybody, today I'm going to be showing you how I assemble my podcast together, how I edit and build it. Now I have another video using Audacity and how just Audacity works generally. This is very specifically related to the podcast episode that you may have already listened to. This is how I built it, and this is the process I did to put it together. So unlike the other one, which is a straightforward tutorial, this is more of a demonstration if you'd like to see sort of what goes through my mind as I'm building it, and also what it takes to do some of the things. The first thing is I actually previously recorded an intro.
Hello, my name is Jared Bendis, and this is my podcast on podcasts.
So that intro, of course, is using this really good microphone. And then, of course, most of my podcast was done sitting in the car.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Now, you're going to go, wait a second, this sounds a little different than the intro.
So I have that, and that's most of it. And then for the third part, which is going to be where I was editing an interview together for a more edited section, I actually just threw my phone down and recorded some of my coworkers.
So can you say something else?
Sure, yeah, I was wondering a little bit more about the one-party consent issue with respect to recording on film.
So I have these three disparate files. None of them are audio files yet. These three disparate files that I'm going to put together for my podcast. The podcast intro was recorded again using studio equipment. The podcast itself, which is going to be unedited, it's my quote-unquote live-to-tape section, is recorded via my phone, but with my headset microphone, so it's a little bit more of a microphone. And then the last part, which will be edited and voiced over, so I've got a few pieces I've got yet to throw in there. I think there's a few pieces missing to tie it together, also recorded on my phone. Now, when you work with Audacity today, and Audacity doesn't like my video files, which is okay. There's ways to make Audacity like video files, but it's actually easier for me to just go to VLC. VLC, of course, is the free media player. If you don't have VLC in your computer, it's cross-platform, it's free, and it's awesome. And a lot of people don't know is it can convert videos. Media, convert, save. And I can come over here and I can add my video files. Oh, look, I have 3 different video files. I'll grab them all. And then now where it says convert save, I'll click the little arrow and say convert. And under profile, it says I can go down here to profile and I can decide what type of file I want. I don't want to make MP3 files yet because that's a compressed file. I want to save it for the end. So I'm going to say audio CD. And then I'm going to say append converted to file name. This way it doesn't accidentally try to overwrite any other files. And if I hit save, if all goes well, it's actually going to convert my files, as you can see it doing down here. Now the first file is very long. It's actually 18 minutes long. I made a really nice stream of consciousness, very robust podcast, which I hope you'll listen to. The good news is because it is unedited, or what we call again live to tape, I don't have to review it right now. There's no editing. I promised I wouldn't edit it, so I will snip off the beginning and the end, and that's it. And then so that'll make my life a little bit easier, at least in terms of the duration. Normally, if I'm doing something that's truly edited, I'll have to be very, very careful about doing all of it. All right, and look, I have wave, wave, wave. Ta-da! We're done. That's great. Now I can go back into Audacity. So with Audacity, first thing I want to do is I'm going to start off with my podcast intro. See if I can drag that in there. And it's nice, as we saw, if you've seen my previous videos, you can actually sort of see where the sections are. Now, I know I didn't like my first intro. I think it was my third intro I liked better.
Hello and good morning. It is 9/10/2020. My name is Jared Bendis, and this is my podcast on podcast. Hope you enjoy.
Yeah, that's what I'm keeping. So I can come over here. I can highlight all of this and hit delete. Excellent. And I think this is my end.
Well, I hope you certainly enjoyed my podcast on podcasts. Tune in next time for my vlog on vlog. So actually, I don't know what the next one's going to be, but you get the idea.
All right, so I can come over here. I can delete that. And if I come over here, I think I've got some noise. I do that a lot. Obviously, in the edited part, I can get rid of it. All right, now,
Well, I hope
that was breath. You can almost see the. That's my. I don't know. You get used to that.
Well, I hope you certainly enjoyed my podcast on podcasts. Tune in next time for my vlog on vlog. So actually, I don't know what the next one's going to be, but you get the idea.
All right, so now I'm going to edit this. So I'm going to cut this into a new piece and save it. Oops, sorry about that. cut that into a new piece. How many windows do I have open now? Yes, several. And then I have this piece over here. So,
Well, I hope you certainly enjoyed my podcast on
so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to export this as a WAV file. And we're going to call this podcast end. Okay. I can close that. And then this one,
Hello and good morning. It is
file, export as WAV, podcast, begin. I like to take a divide and conquer approach. You could start juggling everything right now, but I don't think it's needed. I'm just going to give myself all my pieces parts in my folder so I can go from there. All right, so where did I save those to? Oh, I hate when I do that. I gotta go through I'll find where I put it in a minute. All right, next, let's take a look at the big one, which is 39. I'll open that file up. There we go. So now for this, I definitely need to zoom in. So I want to hear what I sound like.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Hello and welcome to my podcast. Now, you're going to go, wait a second, this sounds a little different than...
And that is the only editing I'm doing at the beginning.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Now, you're going to go, wait a second, this sounds a little different than the intro. Well, the intro was done with a beautiful microphone, and I am just sitting here in my truck recording this on my iPhone. And that's something I want you to think about. When you listen to a podcast, where is it recorded? Where's the person recording it? What part would you change? What part are you going to make yours special? How are you...
See? Jumping towards the end.
Please, I hope you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please...
Well, I think there was a stopping point.
We're going to transition into the edited portion. So you'll be doing that, and then I will come back. All right, I'm back. Actually, I recorded this right after I recorded the first part, and I knew I put the middle and the end, but nobody knew that. Now you all know this, but that's the point. And there is no you all, just you. There is no you all, there's only you. So anyways, thanks for listening. My name is Jared Bendis. I'm the Creative New Media Officer for the Freedman Center for Digital Scholarship at the College Smith Library, Case Western Reserve University. Boy, that's a mouthful of things to say. I hope you've found this useful. I hope this has inspired you. Even if you're like, I don't like any of it. Well, what part of it don't you like?
All right, so I can grab this and make its own file out of it, because we know that is sort of... Now I got two endings. You're like, wait a second, you have two endings. I do have two endings, and we're going to see how that plays out in a moment. All right, so I'm going to come over here, save, export as WAV file, and now I can see where it's saving to. Oh, it's saving under audio test. So I'll have to go back to the audio test folder in a minute. This will be podcast inner ending, because that's really what it is. Good. And then this is my...
You'll be doing that, and then I will come back.
I can delete out a little bit of that. I'm going to save this as export as WAV. And this would be podcast middle. All right. Good. That's the big one right there. That's the big one. Excellent. I'll close that one too for now. Now let's go find where I put all those things. Oh, they're in audio test, so I can grab them back. Good thing that I'll begin with the words podcast. All right, so I've got all my ducks in a row now. I've got all my eggs in one basket. The last one we've got to play with is the conversation. The conversation was the hardest one because there's really three different people in three different places. Also, there's going to be need for me to say something to tie it all together. You see how much lower the waveform is, and it's going to be a little bit muddier to listen to.
So I'm sitting here talking to Dr. Ben Gorham. Ben, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So that part where I'm sitting here talking to Ben Gorham, Ben, can tell us a little bit about yourself. That's where I could really go back and do a voiceover. I could do a much better recording. I can go to File, New, and I could do a recording. Let me make sure my recording is set up properly. I think it is. Yes, I'm recording properly. I go, standing outside of the office of Dr. Ben Gorham and Charlie Harper, I try to engage in a conversation. So now I have this.
Standing outside of the office of Dr. Ben Gorham and Charlie Harper, I try to engage in a conversation.
All right. And you're like, you should have said doctors. Yeah, I probably could have. All right, so I'm going to come over here and export this as a WAV file. And now this is where the magic begins, right? So now I'm not going to be an audio test. I want to put it where I know I'm supposed to be, which would be under videos, which would be under a podcast. And I'm going to call this conversation 01, right? That's the first part of my conversation. Now I've got to go back and see what else I can do with the other one. So now we're sort of really scripting. So I don't need, now again, I can zoom out. If I zoom out all the way, which is this one over here, that shows me the entire duration of my clip is currently 1 minute and 30, which is great. It's not very much to edit. If I zoom in, I can kind of see a little bit more. What you're going to realize, however, is I've got volume issues. Now, I'm not going to worry about the volume issues until I've chopped it up a little bit, but those volume issues are going to come into play as we realize that I have different volumes for different people. All right.
So I'm sitting here talking to Dr. Ben Gorham. Ben, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So,
Ben, can you tell?
I've got this. I've got a backup of this, so I don't mind that I'm deleting some, but only never work on the original files if you can avoid it. Ben. Let me get rid of this. See if I can get just to Ben.
Ben, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So Ben, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Right. That's good. All right. Let's do that again. Let's do it back to the beginning.
Ben, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm not Ben Gorman. What do you think I am?
All right, that works for me. And you have a degree in what?
I don't really know what you're doing in my office.
But, okay. Well,
So now he's being sarcastic.
yourself.
I'm not Ben Gorman. What do you think I am?
All right, so I'll delete a bit of the space there.
What about yourself?
I'm not Ben Gorman. What do you think I am?
So right there, I'm not Ben Gorham. I don't think I am. All right. So now that's the thing. Let me go back and do another clip. As I had ambushed Ben out. Oops, that's a mistake. As I had ambushed Ben outside of his office, he decided to play coy. Let's see if Charlie would do the same. So I'm building a narrative around the clips that I have. And I'm making it clear where I've added and where I haven't. Let's listen again.
As I had ambushed Ben outside of his office, he decided to play coy. Let's see if Charlie would do the same.
All right, so let me export this as WAV file. Now we know that this is the third clip. I haven't saved the other clip yet, but I'm going to call it CO3 because we know that's where it's going to come in. CO3, there it is. Close that clip up. Again, you're sort of in your mind, which means that all of this is now CO2 for the conversation part 2. Export as WAV. By the way, I have only reviewed this footage once, so I'm literally doing this live in front of you, so you get a sense of what it's like to think these things through. So now I had said that we were going to talk to Charlie next.
All right, that works for me. And you have a degree in what?
I don't really know what you're doing in my office.
But, okay. Well then, this is an awkward and terrible interview, so this will not work well for my podcasting tutorial. So I'm standing here with Dr. Charlie Harper. Doctor, what is your degree in?
My degree is in classical archaeology.
See, Charlie answered. So now I can go with this one.
Doctor, what is your degree in?
My degree is in classical archaeology.
Notice, by the way, because I introduced him in my other clip, I don't have to use this part of the clip. I almost get to re-record and reframe some of my questions. I'm not lying. I'm just basically being able to set things up better based on the answers that I get. And that's very useful when you're doing this type of thing. When you start listening to these other types of podcasts or these other types of interviews, ask yourself, are you hearing the questions possibly being reframed to make sure they match the answers? It's not bad, by the way. It just makes it a little easier. Interviewees are horrible. You ask them one question, they answer something else.
Harper. Doctor, what is your degree in? Doctor, what is your degree in?
My degree is in classical archaeology.
Excellent. So I'm standing between two doctors, and this is the name of my podcast, is Between Two Doctors. Anyway, I'm really going to be talking about the difference in audio levels between who's closer to the microphone and how we.
And that's all I need for now. Probably a little bit extra out of there, but let's come over here and let's see what I've got so I can edit this one together in its own clip.
Doctor.
Okay, I'll get rid of that one for now. So,
Doctor.
oh, there's a little snap there.
Doctor.
Oh, I guess I can get rid of that snap. Oh, snap. Zoom in a little bit so I can see the little snap. And
Doctor, what
there
is
you go.
your degree in?
My degree is in classical archaeology.
Excellent. So I'm standing between two doctors, and this is the name of my podcast, is Between Two Doctors.
Now, Ben is talking over me, and that would make this very bad footage. You have to be very careful when you're listening and hearing things to make sure that people aren't speaking over each other.
My podcast is Between Two Doctors.
Can't do anything about that, but I'm going to use it for now.
Anyway.
And I can get rid of that. Or I can get rid of the whole segment and say, oh, I'm not going to use the whole, that's the name.
So I'm standing between two doctors, and this is the name of my podcast, is Between Two Doctors.
All right, so I'll use that for now. File, export as wave. And of course, that becomes CO4 because that's the fourth part. So now we have sort of the narrative as we've been building it. Let's go back in here. What else we have to possibly work with?
I'm really going to be talking about the difference in audio levels between who's closer to the microphone and how we adjust them. So can you say something else?
Sure, yeah, I was wondering a little bit more about the one-party consent issue with respect to recording on a phone like this as opposed to a phone call.
Well, it's interesting. It should be pretty much the same, but I'm really going to be talking
The one-party consent issue with respect to recording on a phone like this as opposed to a phone call. It's that you get record on.
That's true. There's those as well. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining our little podcast, and we'll go from there.
All right, so I've got one more segment I'll use, and I think I know how to introduce it. Let's see if I can put another clip in here, and then we'll be done. Let's see how this works. I had originally approached Ben because he was asking questions about balancing audio from two different audio sources, pretty much like what we're doing today, either with using two different microphones or having two different vocals at different levels from the same microphone. He had had an accident with blah, blah, blah. That's a mistake. So now I've got to decide, do I want to do the whole thing again, or do I want to just continue? You know what? I want to do the whole thing again. That's a decision I'm going to make. I had approached Ben because he had questions about balancing audio from two different speakers. However, he was more interested in having a conversation about the legality of covert recording. He had recently been involved in an insurance claim where somebody had done damage on his property. We handled that in a different conversation. And now that leads to the next part of his statement, I think. I may have to get rid of some of what I just said. So I had approached Ben because he had questions about balancing audio from two different speakers. However, he was more interested in having a conversation about the legality of covert recording. I had approached Ben. All right, let's go back over here. He had recently been involved in an insurance claim where somebody had done damage on his property. I don't need the rest of this because he is going to ask the question. This is the setup to his question. So file, export, wave, and this would be CO5. So I say, I had approached Ben because of X, and then his response is.
That's true. There's recording difference in audio levels between who's closer to the microphone and how we adjust them. So can you say something else?
Sure, yeah, I was wondering a little bit more about.
See, and then instead, I can eliminate almost all of my phrase to.
Sure, yeah, I was wondering a little bit more about the one-party consent issue with respect to recording on a phone like this as opposed to a phone call.
So he's asking about this. Now, the reality of it is, in the state of Ohio, you can record a phone conversation if you're one of the parties. As long as one party knows you're being recorded, it's legal. So generally, it's one of the people on the conversation. Because it has to be one of the people on the conversation. So I can record my conversations with you as long as I know I'm being recorded. I can't put a tap on a line. That would be illegal. If no one knows you're being recorded, that's not legal. In the state of Ohio, at least. All right, so let me cut that. File, new. And let's do a fine-tune edit here. I'm zooming in and zooming out, by the way. Allows me to see what's going on.
Sure, yeah, I was wondering a little.
So I don't want the sure, yeah.
I was wondering a little. I was wondering. Yeah, I was wondering. I was wondering a little.
It's a hard one.
I was wondering a little bit more about the one. Wondering a little bit. I was wondering a little. Yeah, I was wondering a little bit more about.
I'm gonna have to come over here too.
Yeah, I was wondering a little bit.
Yeah, I was wondering. It's the best I'm gonna get.
Yeah, I was wondering a little bit more about the one-party consent issue with respect to recording on a phone like this as opposed to a phone call.
And we don't need that part. So that is the next part of our conversation. I was wondering, you have to almost remember what he's saying, right? So you don't have it written down. You could write it down. It's called logging your footage if you write it down, is you write down everything that you're going to be putting together so you can almost do it as a narrative first. All right. So he says he's wondering about the legality of blah, blah, blah. And I
Well, it's
say,
interesting. It should be pretty much the same, but we'll talk more about that later. And the other thing here is I'll be getting both of you licenses to 3D Zephyrs.
you don't need to know about that.
True, there's those as well. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining our little podcast, and we'll go from there.
Now, I don't necessarily, and I could use, now here's a question. I need to resolve what he said, right? So I don't have the resolution here. I could say, oh, that's interesting. I did have a clip. It wasn't that good. Do I resolve and thank? Or do I use the thank you that was the real thank you? Or do I use sort of a third party thank you? And that's really the difference, right? So I need to put a resolution in. I explained to him, we had a longer conversation about that offline, right? And then I could come back in and use my thank you here so it's more personal. Or I could be done here and say we had a conversation offline and it was very nice of them to join me and have this conversation. So one is where I'm sort of telling you, the audience, that I thanked them, and the other is you actually experiencing that part of the conversation. You can even do both. I think we'll do both just for the hell of it. File, new, because this is going fairly well, actually. This is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Ben and I had a very interesting conversation, and we went through all the intricacies of it. Much more complicated than we'd like to have during this podcast. Ben and I had a very interesting conversation, and we went through all the intricacies of it. Much more complicated than we'd like to have during this podcast. Probably could have corrected and say much more than I would have liked to have during this podcast. And that's the trick, is that when you know that I'm recording specifically, when you know that this is being polished and produced, your standards, the listener standards, are much higher. Why didn't he do it again? With the 18 minutes of solid conversation, I've made a commitment to perform. In this, I've made a commitment to polish, and there is a difference, and you'll start to hear these things where you start being a little more nitpicky over part 2 of the video audio versus part 1 of the audio. All right, let's go back over here, and let's see the end.
Well, it's true. There's those as well. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining our little podcast, and we'll go from there. Cool.
All right, so.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining our little podcast, and we'll go from there.
All right, let's zoom in and make sure everything's right. Let's come over here so I can get rid of the icky parts.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining our little podcast, and we'll go from there.
All right, there you go. So I can, so now I've used the live part of this, which will again have a very different tone. Call that CO8. And then lastly, I will record CO9. I can close this one now, yay. And say, it was so nice of Charlie and Ben to join me for my little podcast. They truly are good sports, even though they're bad coworkers. Actually, they're really nice guys. Very sarcastic, though. Very sarcastic. So I've added a little bit of personal touch, and I've taken you back out of that conversation. And that's the thing. I want you to think about sort of editing a little conversation there. And there's only a few moments. This idea about what kind of thing you're doing. It's here. It was so nice of Charlie and Ben to join me for my little podcast. They truly are good sports, even though they're bad coworkers. Actually, they're really nice guys. Very sarcastic, though. Very sarcastic. Good. So now that's the end of that segment. That closes that segment. Oops, not MP3. No. WAV file. Export as WAV file. And that will take me to CO9. Great. So what comes next? What was my next clip? Let's go look over here. What did I have? I had the internal ending. Let's see if that makes sense.
All right, I'm back. Actually, I recorded this right after I recorded the first part, and I knew I put the middle in the end, but nobody knew that. Now you all know this, but that's the point. And there is no you all, it's just you. There is no you all, there's only you. So anyways, thanks for listening. My name is Jared Bendis. I'm the Creative New Media Officer for the Freedman Center for Digital Scholarship at the College Smith Library, Case Western Reserve University. Boy, that's a mouthful of things. Your podcasts are successful. Thank you.
So I say, I hope your podcasts are successful. And then I go into...
Well, I hope you certainly enjoyed my podcast on podcasts. Tune in next time for my vlog on vlogs. So actually, I don't know what the next one's going to be.
So obviously, I have redundancy there now. I've made a mistake. Now, that redundancy is easy enough for me to fix because I already thanked you. But I do like that change in tone again. So the second podcast end, I will just get rid of the second thank you, right? Let's come back over here.
Well, I hope you certainly enjoyed my podcast on podcasts. Tune in next time for my vlog on vlog.
See, now, even though my podcast on podcast is sort of a joke here, I think the joke would stand. I think even without my, did you enjoy my podcast on podcast? I think the next time my vlog on vlogs is a funny enough joke that it would be clearly a nice little transition. Plus, you don't even know what a vlog is, you youngins. I don't even call them that anymore.
Tune in next time for my vlog on vlogs. So actually, I don't know what the next one.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too much of a pause there. Let's do that again. Pacing.
Tune in next time for my vlog on vlogs. So actually, I don't know what the next one's going to be, but you get the idea.
And then we have that little breathy thing there. Listen to that. I can just delete it.
But you get the idea.
All right. Now, I want to export this again. Export as wave. And I'm just going to overwrite the other one. Yes. Great. I have all my pieces parts together, except for one other thing I need, right? What else do I need? I need some music. I've got to figure out what is the theme of my podcast. Now, interestingly enough, right before I had done this, I had gone over to in Computech and looked at Kevin MacLeod's music files, and let's see if any of these are going to work for what we want. Actually, that's pretty good. I don't think that's appropriate for this one. I don't think that's good for this one either. This always works. I actually just use this for video. I think we're going to go with this one. So I need a snippet of this. So I'm going to have to cut a piece out. And then, of course, we'll have to credit them somewhere in text because you're required to. I've got very specific credits you have to do if you're going to use anything by MacLeod. Unless you want to pay him. So... that's enough. All right, so I can get rid of the rest of that. All right. How many minutes is this thing? Oh, there it is. It's on the bottom. On the bottom there, you can see where it's scrolling. All right. Delete the rest of that. Zoom back in. All right, now I want to fade this out. So I'm going to highlight a section that I want to fade. And I'm going to effect, and I'm going to do fade out, and that does that. Okay, so that's that done. Now, the other thing is, this is probably way too loud that I'm going to need for my entire piece. So I'm going to come back over here to the beginning, and I'm going to fade in. That always helps a little bit right there. So I'm going to highlight some, and then say fade in, and now it's going to come like this. And then lastly, I'm going to grab the whole thing, and I'm going to go to... I love this thing. I've got so many different programs I use to do audio, so I just have to remember which one it is. I'm looking for gain. Where's my gain? Oh, it's right around here somewhere. All right. All right, do it by the amplify. Amplify. I want to Now I can, there we go. Bring it down, bring it down. Now I come over here. I can preview it. And you, there we go. See how I dropped it all down. Now it's much lower. No matter how loud you think it is, make it quieter. All right, so now I'm going to save this for use for later. Export as wave, and we're going to call this Serenity clip. There we go. And then lastly, file open. I just had the file open. Where did I save it to? Music. There we go. Which one is this called? This was called Airship Serenity. All right, let's make my life a little bit easier. Airship Serenity by Kelvin MacLeod from incompetechfilmmusic.io. Creative Commons license 4.0. Thank you, Kevin. I think I can put that in text, but I just want to add it because I'm a nice guy. Oop, I didn't stop recording. Airship Serenity by Kelvin MacLeod from incompetechfilmmusic.io. Creative Commons license 4.0. Thank you, Kevin. All right, so now you can see that I've got some awkward pauses. I have a good sense of timing, so if you're wondering like how you know how much to delete, you don't. Airship Serenity by Kelvin MacLeod from incompetechfilmmusic.io. Creative Commons license 4.0. Thank you, Kevin. All right, one last one. I want the Creative Commons license 4.0 a little bit closer. Creative Commons license 4.0. Thank you, Kevin. I definitely don't want to in there. Thank you, Kevin. Good enough. File, export as wave. And this would be credits. And now to assemble it all. All right, file, new. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm basically, so I want to bring all the parts together at once. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and let's grab the Serenity clip, right? That's what we want. There's the Serenity clip. And then we're going to keep zooming out. That's the whole party to this. Oops, stop that. We're going to zoom out. There it is. That's a different window. Don't worry about that. All right. Now, what's the first thing I need is the podcast intro. Wait, did I? Yeah. Wait, did I edit? Oh, podcast begin. All right. So the fun part of this is that I can come over here and I can move time shift, which basically moves this clip over. That's what that does. I have to zoom back out again, but when I time shift, it'll allow me to see. It allows me to have my one track on top of the other. Now, if I come back to the beginning, again, I keep zooming out so I can see everything. If I come back to the beginning, I should get this. Oops, go back to the edit tool.
Hello and good morning. It is 9/10/2020.
See that? It's a
My
beautiful
name
transition.
is Jared Bendis, and this is my podcast on podcast. Hope you enjoy.
All right, so really easy. I'm just going to do it again. Now, the next clip was the podcast ending. It was the podcast. See, look at this. I should have named my thing as podcast middle. There we go, podcast middle. Have it load. There we go. We know it's long. You see how long it is. It's 18 minutes long. So now we have to go the other way around. I actually want to zoom in so I can see what's going on here. Oops, way too far. Zoom all the way out. Now what I want to do is I want to grab the tool again, and this time I'm just going to come over here. And if all goes well, it snaps, which is exactly what I needed to do. And then I can come back over into this place, and I can hear my transition.
Podcast. Hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to my podcast. Now, you're going to go, wait a second.
Now this is where I'm going to start saving a project. I'm going to actually save the project for Audacity, because this way I can have my whole layered project and I have to worry about losing data along the way. This is sort of the project side of things, not the audio side of things. Great. Now that I've done that, I need another clip. So what comes next? So after the end, what did we have here? We have the
Voice. And that's really the challenge of all this, is that if you know what you sound like, then it's easier to sound like that person. All right, I think I've exhausted part one of my podcast. Again, the other part is duration. I'm at like 50.
All right, so now I need to bring in all the other clips. Now the next clip would be, I think the next clip is C01, right? Isn't it? Yeah, because I think I just numbered them all. Let's bring it in. And of course, we can grab the move tool and move it after that. And we should be able to hear what it sounds like.
Into the edited portion. So you'll be doing that, and then I will come back. Standing outside of the office of Dr. Ben Gorham and Charlie Harper, I try to engage in a conversation.
All right, so now obviously I went a little too far over. So on the slop, there we go. Snap it in.
Into the edited portion. So you'll be doing that, and then I will come back. Standing outside of the office of Dr. Ben Gorham and Charlie Harper, I try to engage in a conversation.
All right, so now I've got to grab these other 9 clips. Now I haven't tried this before in a while, so I'm going to see if this works. So what happens if I drag all 9 clips in? Hopefully, all 8 clips in. Hopefully, there we go. It does work a little bit. So now I want to keep going. Oh, these are stereo files, which is kind of funny. I recorded mine are in mono and the others are in stereo. It's because of the way this works. So, and of course they're labeled, so I can actually see them, thankfully. So I can come over here and do 2. And then I can come over here and do 3. And I can come, like, where's 4? I can come over here and do 4. I know I can't see enough there. I can come over here and do 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, so let's come back over here and let's zoom this way. There we go. Now I zoomed in, grab the move tool again, and so that's 2. That's get these out of the way. They're trying to snap to the wrong layers. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. 6. 7. 8. And 9. Not very long, by the way. It's actually like a minute. So let's come back over here and we can listen to the whole minute, see if it comes together, because we're going to find that it doesn't.
Standing outside of the office of Dr. Ben Gorham and Charlie Harper, I try to engage in a conversation.
Ben, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm not Ben Gorman. What do you think I am?
As I had ambushed Ben outside of his office, he decided to play coy. Let's see if Charlie would do the same.
Doctor, what is your degree in?
My degree is in classical archaeology.
Excellent. So I'm standing between 2 doctors, and this is the name of my podcast, is Between 2 Doctors.
I had approached Ben because he had questions about balancing audio from 2 different speakers. However, he was more interested in having a conversation about the legality of covert recording. He had recently been involved in an insurance claim where somebody had done damage on his property.
But yeah, I was wondering a little bit more about the one-party consent issue with respect to recording on a phone like this as opposed to a phone call.
Ben and I had a very interesting conversation, and we went through all the intricacies of it. Much more complicated than we like to have during this podcast.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining our little podcast, and we'll go from there.
It was so nice of Charlie and Ben to join me for my little podcast. They truly are good sports, even though they're bad coworkers. Actually, they're really nice guys. Very sarcastic, though. Very sarcastic.
So I'm going to pause for a moment. I'm going to finish putting all the stuff in, just so we can come back to this in a moment. So after that, what did we have? We had the, we needed what? We had the inner ending, me just hear it.
All right, I'm back. Actually, I recorded this right after I recorded. Thank you.
The inner ending. Is it the edited inner ending? Yeah. Yeah, we have the inner ending. And then we have, after the inner ending, what did we have? We have the podcast ending.
Tune in next time for my vlog on vlog. So actually, I don't know what the next one's going to be, but you get the idea.
And then we can do that one. So we've got the ending in there. And then we also have, somewhere we're going to have that clip again. And then lastly, we're going to have the credits. Where did I put the credits? You can see them. They're right here. There we go, credits. All right, so I'm going to put the last clips together, and then we'll be done. So let's come back over here. And again, we know that we're going to move this. Oops, wrong clip. We're going to grab this one. We're going to put them towards the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we may be wrong on the timing on these, but that's okay. And then we're going to come over here, zoom in, slide over, and now we get a real sense of it all. All right, so go back to that time. So this is going to come over here. So first, that is the inner ending. Then there's the outer ending. Actually, probably there's the inner ending, and then there's the Serenity music, and then there's the outer ending, and then there's the credits. Let's just hear what that sounds like from right about there.
All this. I hope you made it to the end. Please, I hope you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. It's jared.bendis@ksat.edu, and I hope your podcasts are successful. Thank you. Tune in next time for my vlog on vlog. So actually, I don't know what the next one's going to be, but you get the idea. Airship Serenity by Kelvin MacLeod from incompetechfilmmusic.io. Creative Commons license 4.0. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, so a couple things real fast. Normally, I would say that the music is playing a little too long, and you wouldn't, because you'd miss the ending. But this isn't radio. This is a podcast. You see that there's duration left, so I'll risk it here. But I am risking it. I am risking that someone's going to hear the end music and go, "Oh, it's over." So I could decide to bring it back a little bit sooner than that. You know, kind of come over here like this, kind of come a little bit sooner than that, and then bring Kevin back a little bit sooner as well, and then see if this is even, you can hear it. All right, let's do it again.
Thank you. Tune in next time for my vlog on vlog. So actually, I don't know what the next one's going to be, but you get the idea. Airship Serenity by Kelvin MacLeod from incompetechfilmmusic.io. Creative Commons license 4.0.
All right, so I'll do it that one instead. Now let's do the last part. The last part is going to be balancing the audio and a couple little gaps that we've heard. So let's listen to this one.
It was so nice of Charlie and Ben to join me for my little podcast. They truly are good sport.
A little bit of breath sound in there. Get rid of that.
They truly are good sports, even though they're bad coworkers. Actually, they're really nice guys. Very sarcastic.
So this is just me getting rid of some little things.
Really nice guys. Very sarcastic, though. Very sarcastic.
And of course, by doing that, I shortened it up, which means that technically everything just got moved. Oops. I'll deal with that in a second because the Lord knows what's going to happen again. All right, let's listen over here to the next one.
Podcast and
So this is all me.
well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining our little podcast, and we'll go from there.
It was so...
So this clip could be louder. Not too much louder, but a little bit louder. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go to amplify, and I'm going to say that I'm going to amplify it 3 decibels. And now...
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining our little podcast, and we'll go from there.
It was so...
You can see that it's really in the -12, -18 range. All right, that's good for that one.
And I had a very interesting conversation.
That's fine. But what about this one? What about this really quiet one?
Yeah, I was wondering a little bit more about the one-party consent issue.
All Ben.
To recording on
Very, very
as
quiet.
opposed to-
He's at -36. So the question is, can we make him louder? So I can amplify him, and you see it automatically types in a number. That's the maximum number that it can put it in. I'm going to put it in at like 10 decibels and see what that does.
But yeah, I was wondering a little bit more about the one-party consent issue with respect to recording on a phone like this as opposed to a phone call.
Ben and I
All right, so you can see that was enough, and I'm trying to get it around the -18 range. Now this is me
balancing
talking.
audio from two different speakers. However, he was more interested in having a conversation.
I could get rid of that little bit of gap there if I wanted to. And then, of course, that slides everything again.
Recording. He had
And there's me going, I should have already deleted that, but, I'll fix this later.
recording. He had recently been involved in an insurance claim where somebody had done damage on his property.
Yeah.
Now, this one's going to get a little bit more fun, this last one. Although, next two, we only have two more. We have both me and Ben.
Doctor, what is your degree in?
My degree is in classical archaeology.
Excellent. So I'm standing between two doctors.
So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this clip louder. Loud enough that I'm the loudest, right? Because I want to do that for me. So I'm going to go 8 decibels. And so now this is just me being
Doctor,
louder.
what is your degree in?
My degree is
Now I have to magnify just Charlie.
my degree is in classical archaeology.
So I've highlighted him, and I need to come over here. I need to amplify just him. And again, I want to do it maybe just 5 more decibels on top. Again, I can't make him so loud.
Doctor, what is your degree in?
My degree is in classical archaeology.
Because I'm also getting his noise louder. The reality of it is the room is loud. He was quiet. I make them both loud together. All right. Let's come back over here. And let's keep zooming back and see what we've got. Only 2 more clips here.
Ben, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm not Ben Gorman. What do you think I am?
So again, I want to come over here and amplify both of us. I'm going to do 8 decibels because I know that I'm about right at 8 decibels because we had before.
Ben, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm not Ben Gorman. What do you think I am?
And then I will grab him and I'll just go up a touch more. And now I'm balancing this by trying to figure out what the volumes are for each of us.
Ben, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm not Ben Gorman. What do you think I am?
As I had ambushed Ben outside of his office, he decided to play coy. Let's see if Charlie would do the same.
So let's come over here and get rid of that.
Let's see if Charlie would do the same.
And I'm going to have to keep sliding these back together.
Let's see if Charlie would do the same.
Doctor, what is your degree in?
My degree is in classical archaeology.
Excellent. So I'm standing between two doctors.
All right, now I'm going to get rid of that.
So I'm standing between two doctors, and this is the name of my podcast, is Between Two Doctors.
Slide this one over. Again.
So I'm standing between two doctors, and this is the name of my podcast, is Between Two Doctors.
I had approached Ben because he had questions about
We already fixed that one. So I will come back over here and listen to this.
damage on his property.
But yeah, I was wondering a little bit more about the one-party consent issue with respect to recording on a phone like this as opposed to a phone call.
All right, so that sounds good. And again, I keep listening for my transitions between the clips.
Phone call.
Ben and I had a very interesting conversation, and we went through all the intricacies of it. Much more complicated than we'd like to have during this podcast.
All right, so I can see there's probably a little bit too much gap here. I can delete it if I wanted to. I could have just slid it over, but there you go. Slide that over here. Slide this over here. Make sure everything else sounds right.
During this podcast.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining our little podcast, and we'll go from there.
It was so nice of Charlie and Ben to join me for my little podcast. They truly are good sports, even though they're bad coworkers. Actually, they're really nice guys. Very sarcastic, though. Very sarcastic. Sarcastic. Or
Again, deleting some negative space. Moving things into place. Audacity's great and it's free. I love that stuff.
sarcastic. All right, I'm back. Actually, I recorded this right after I recorded the first part, and I knew I put the middle.
So now I can come back all the way over here and fix the last bits of this, which is, of course, where does the music go in? Where does the music come out? Here, I'll put the music back over here. I'll put the music back over here. And then we'll credit Kevin right there. All right, so let's listen to the last moments one more time.
case.edu, and I hope your podcasts are successful. Thank you. Tune in next time for my vlog on vlogs. Well, actually, I don't know what the next one's going to be, but you get the idea. Airship Serenity by Kevin MacLeod from incompetechfilmmusic.io. Creative Commons license 4.0. Case.edu.
All right, that's it. That's it. That is literally the entire thing right there. I have gone through and created all the layers that I wanted. Now, if you've made it this far, this is really an exercise. I really want you to see what it was like to put it together. I've shown all these features inside of my Audacity tutorial, but this is more of a practical approach to it all. So I wanted this for the people who like to do this. You're like, that was an hour. It was an hour. It was real time. This is a real time reflection. It took me an hour to edit together a 20-minute piece. Again, multiple tutorials, multiple modalities of trying to understand what it is we're doing. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, not a tutorial, demonstration. File, export now. This one's going to MP3. Export as MP3. Now, I can come over here. I don't need extreme quality. I don't need extreme quality. I need standard quality. This is not whatever. And this is not Serenity clip anymore. This is my podcast master. And if all goes well, I hit save. Yes, I know it's going to be turned into one file. I technically should get rid of all this because this is not that media anymore. Yeah, I could put my own metadata in, so I could say like, you know, because then I don't know how you're going to listen to it all. I mean, you may find this on. So let's do this right. Artist name, Jared Bendis. And track title is Podcast on Podcast. I click OK. And it's going to take about a minute to convert. Anyway, this will be posted. I wonder where you listen to first. Yeah, I'm sure you listen to the other one first. I hope you listen to the other one first because you get the idea of how it was put together. All right, thank you very much for watching. More videos in the future. Comments as always. And again, if you need to contact me, contact information is down there as well. Thank you. Have a good day.